And welcome to the Monday edition of Use Your Words podcast. Now, as you'll notice, if you're on YouTube, there's no video. The reason for that is I'm testing out a new tool, especially because of the age of Corona now that we are in. They now used to say in what the oldest songs, Age of Aquarius and all that jazz. I guess they never talked about the age of Corona, this idea of social distancing and staying away from each other all the time. And it's something that it's honestly, depending on who you listen to, something that's going to be here for a while or something that'll be here for a short time. If you believe Trump, maybe another 30 days. If you believe Harvard scientists, on and off for another 2 years, which I don't know. That one seems a little maybe too far out there, especially because they are basing it on some models which they wrote up, which may or may not be accurate, but that's beyond the point of right now. So that was just explain why there's no video, because this is testing a remote recording solution and seeing how it works. And hopefully it works perfectly. I'm thinking it's going to, just based on what I'm seeing right now and what we're doing. And then this, obviously, after this is uploaded, that'll be a good test of how well did this do. But beyond the fact of that, what I wanted to talk about is right now, it seems like the world feels like it's in doom and gloom. You're seeing everyone on Facebook update their little profile photos and say, stay inside, stay safe, stay quarantined. You're seeing everyone, freaking out about, National Guard being activated. You're seeing, Cuomo over in New York saying, you know what, we're going to start finding people if they don't practice social distancing. And even today, saying, hey, if you see religious gatherings going on, he's not saying online, so don't think he's like trying to crack down on online religious gatherings, but he's like, if you see an in-person religious gathering, essentially give us a call, let us know, so we can go shut it down. I have mixed feelings about that, in the sense that I am having a hard time in my own head saying, yes, go ahead and give up our liberties to stop the virus. But at the same time, I am also aware of what social isolation can do to slow down the spread of said virus. Now, that being said, because it is theoretically slowed down, there's also the possibility, if you read the Harvard study, that we're slowing it down too much. What I mean by that is, because we are slowing it down too much, potentially, we're also stopping any herd immunity from being built up. And that's going to cause a problem in the long run, because until we have a reliable vaccine or treatment or prevention or whatever, herd immunity is the only way that we're going to be able to reliably protect those who are potentially older, more vulnerable to everything, and, who have issues. And without that that herd immunity being built up, essentially we're dooming ourselves as to a cycle of repeating this of waves of infections, of people getting sick, isolate, cut off the economy, everything's good, wave of people getting sick, good, wave, good, wave, good, wave, good. Now, that science is still being worked on. We'll see what happens. At this point, it's a day-by-day thing. Now, what's also a day-by-day thing is, if you are like me, and you have some social media, and this is, again, proof that maybe social media is kind of the devil. I follow, stupidly, on Facebook, and I'm thinking about unfollowing them, various news sites, local news stations around here. Anytime I open up social media now, the only thing I see is a news feed barrage of the local news station saying, one more person got infected, one more person dead, one more person got infected, one more person. It's just repeated. I get it. We're in the middle of this thing called a pandemic. We're in the middle of this thing called Corona, COVID, SARS-CoV-2. We are going to expect to see more and more cases, both as the disease is transmitted, both as the testing is expanded, both as people die and they are posthumously tested. I butchered that word, but I'm not going to go back. But as they are tested after the fact. And then once they're tested after the fact and it comes out that, essentially, they died of COVID, the disease. Remember, the virus is SARS-CoV-2. The disease that SARS-CoV-2 makes is COVID. What then it hits the news line. And everyone's going on and on. Every single person, it seems like, that gets diagnosed with COVID gets their own news story nowadays. And that is a bad thing on multiple levels. For one, what it's doing is it is causing people to freak out because it is always in their mind. It is always at the forefront of what they are seeing. They are seeing stories of negativity, stories of this spreading. When you see something or when you are told something repeatedly, if you are told repeatedly that you are an idiot, eventually you will believe it. Doesn't matter how strong your mental fortitude is, doesn't matter how well you believe in yourself, eventually it will cause you to question yourself. If all you are seeing is negativity in the news, if all you're seeing is this beatdown of the spread, of the destruction, of the whatever, you're not going to believe the good that's going on at the same time. And all of a sudden, your entire future is focused on this one little thing, and it's bleak. And media is doing this all in the hopes of retaining eyeballs. All they want to do is get you to click to their article, watch their video. Because what happens when you do? They get ad revenue. Yes, COVID is an important worldwide pandemic. So yes, there should be news articles out. I'm not saying ban them. We don't need to worry about it every second of every day. In fact, I think this is causing a much bigger issue in the fact that this is all being overhyped on the negativity side of it. In fact, it was so overhyped on the negativity that this past Thursday, Dr. Deborah Birx, if you don't remember who she is on the COVID response team with, that Trump has put together. And during Thursday's updated press briefing, she pretty much came out and said, stop. Because what was happening is, on Thursday, if you don't remember the headlines from that day, the media was all of a sudden saying all these huge numbers of all these number of people that are predicted to die. Again, not that have died, but are predicted to die by these models. And then they're going on and saying, okay, hospitals are going to start putting out these mandatory do not resuscitate orders. And it doesn't matter what, if they're dying from COVID, they're just not going to resuscitate them and all that. And I saw these news articles hit the airwaves, internet waves, whatever waves, Thursday, Friday morning. And Dr. Deborah Birx, on her, allocated however many minutes that she has in the press briefing on Thursday, took her time and said, stop reporting on this hysteria. She said, please, for the reassurance of people around the world, wake up this morning and look at people talking about creating DNR situations. Do not resuscitate situation for patients. There's no situation in the United States right now that warrants this kind of discussion. In other words, what she's saying is, we're not there yet, and we might not get there. We might get there. We don't know. We'll see. That's all to be determined in the future here. But we're not to a point where we're talking about creating DNR situation. We're not there yet. We're not where the media is hyping this up and saying, oh, the hospitals are talking about this. Hospitals will talk about these things because they need to be prepared for what potentially they may see. But there are no hospitals that I'm aware of currently that have been reporting the news or otherwise. Again, I work for a hospital chain in Wisconsin that is actually talking about this. Now, it is true. We do need to know about what is going on nationwide. We do need to know about the spread. We do need to know where the hotspots are. But every time Joe Schmo gets, test positive, we don't need to know. In fact, we don't even need to know when a celebrity tests positive. We don't need to know when a celebrity returns home. I remember seeing today in the news that it was splattered all over my local Fox 6 News. For those of you who know where that is, that's Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And they were like, Tom Hanks returns home and is going to continue quarantine. And I posted right on that thing. I was like, so what? This is news because a celebrity returned home to their mansion and they're going to quarantine themselves. I know right now there's really not any news other than COVID, Corona. But why is that worthy of a headline? Why is that worthy of being shared out on Facebook as something that we need to know? At the end of the day, a celebrity is just a person. They just happen to have accumulated a little more wealth because they know how to impersonate someone else on screen. And for whatever reason, we in America have, had it so good recently that we decided we need to start worshiping these people who can impersonate other people, be they real or not. That is not news. What is news is the small businesses around the US that are going out of business. What is real news is that April 1st is coming right around the corner and rent is going to be due. For my apartment complex where I live, there was a sign on the door the other day, and it essentially said, "We are willing to work with you on rent, but you are still going to have to pay rent. And you may still have to pay late. And if you want us to work with you on this, you must provide written documentation that we alone will decide at the time of submission if it is sufficient documentation to say that you have been laid off and qualify for our financial assistance or not." There isn't a large amount of data other than that they're willing to look at. They're either saying, you have to prove to us, otherwise your full rent is due. Now, while there are no known cases in my apartment complex at this time of the COVID disease, I can guarantee you that there are cases where people have been laid off because the job that they worked at has closed, because the government has deemed all non-essential staff and businesses closed, stay home. And come April 1st, we're going to start seeing a large amount of people not being able to pay rent. But that's not what's in the news. What's in the news is Joe Schmo, Tom Hanks, they got infected, another one. Yes, it's important to keep track of the deaths. Yes, it's important to keep track of the trends of that. But we don't need to know every little thing there. We also should be, maybe in this time, especially more than ever, focusing on the positives going on in the world. Focus on that small company that has pivoted over to producing hand sanitizer instead of, the alcohol that they would make in small batches. Focus on Dyson, Dyson vacuums. They switched over from making vacuums to they're now making ventilators. Their name for the ventilators is horrible. It's like the Covens, the Coven ventilators, COVID-19, da da da. Ha 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 ha. Funny. Other businesses are switching over to making things that are needed, whether they be hand sanitizer, ventilators, or Velcro straps for said ventilators. During a time when people are scared and almost have no hope, we need the media not to be pumping out story after story after story of scared people, of things that make people concerned and worry, and instead focus on what is going well. Intersperse those with the bad. Because when you're focused solely on the negative, no matter how sunny and happy your disposition is normally, you will go negative. And right now, in order to survive that, especially if we're going to be isolating for another month, in order to survive this, we need to have some positivity. If you have a flower bed, you know that your plants need sunlight. They can't grow, for the most part, in just a pure, cloudy, rainy environment. Rain and clouds are necessary sometimes. Reality is, there. We can't deny that. But at the same time, we need that sun, that positivity as well, in order to thrive and survive. So the next time you see a negative thing on your Facebook, maybe it's time to unsubscribe from that news organization. Because remember, news organizations are going to do what gets them the most clicks. And if fear mongering is what gets them clicks, they are going to keep pumping it out like no tomorrow. Stay safe out there, everyone. We got another month of this to go. Guess we'll see what it's like. Have a good one. See you Wednesday.